Citizenship on the Go. Lesson 11. Integrated Civics. Geography, Symbols, and Holidays. Part 1. States, Rivers, and Oceans. This lesson reviews key facts about American geography and history. It also overviews many of the USA's more prominent national symbols and discusses the national holidays of the United States. In the modern day, the United States is enormous. In terms of land mass, it's the fourth largest country in the world. Only Russia, Canada, and China are larger in size. Not only are there 49 U.S. states in North America, including Alaska, the largest state, but there is a U.S. state made up of an island chain in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Hawaii. The U.S. also has non-state territories located all around the globe. Today, you could easily travel around the entire planet without ever setting foot outside of the USA. For example, you could take a series of trips by airplane from Connecticut to Alaska, to Hawaii, to American Samoa, to Guam, to Puerto Rico, and then back to Connecticut without ever once officially entering another country. The United States was not always so large. When the Founding Fathers set up the nation's government at the Constitutional Convention in 1787, the USA consisted of only 13 states: New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. All 13 original states were on the east coast of North America, next to the Atlantic Ocean. Nowadays, however, the 48 contiguous states stretch from the east coast to the west coast of North America, encompassing vast forests, deserts, plains, canyons, mountains, plateaus, swamps, islands, and lakes. On top of that, the USA includes the state of Alaska to the northwest and the state of Hawaii to the southwest, making 50 states total. Because there are now 50 states, the modern US flag has 50 stars. There have been many versions of the flag over the course of US history, but most flag designs have used the colors red, white, and blue, and most have included a star for each state. The number of stars on the American flag grew throughout the 1800s and the 1900s as the U.S. added more states to the country. The 50th star was added to the flag in 1959, when Hawaii became a state. The number of stripes on the U.S. flag has varied slightly over the centuries too, but most versions of the flag have had 13 stripes. There are 13 stripes on the flag today to represent the 13 original colonies that declared independence from Great Britain in 1776. Civics test question. Why does the flag have 13 stripes? Why does the flag have 13 stripes? Because there were 13 original colonies. The American flag has 13 stripes because there were 13 original colonies. You could also say that the flag has 13 stripes because the stripes represent the original colonies. Civics test question. Why does the flag have 50 stars? Why does the flag have 50 stars? Because there are 50 states. The U.S. flag has 50 stars because there are 50 states. The flag has 50 stars because there is one star for each state. Each star on the U.S. flag represents a state. The USA takes up as much of the world map as it does today, partly because of land deals the U.S. government made with other nations in the 1800s and 1900s. Much of the land that now officially falls within U.S. borders was purchased from other countries by the federal government. For example, the U.S. government made a major land purchase from another country in 1803 when President Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Territory from France. Adding the Louisiana Territory to the United States more than doubled the size of the country. The deal with France in 1803 also encouraged many U.S. citizens to move out west from the 13 original states, pushing the borders of the nation further and further toward the West Coast and the Pacific Ocean as they went. Civics test question. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Louisiana. The United States bought Louisiana, or the Louisiana Territory, from France in 1803. Along with hundreds of thousands of square miles of land, the Louisiana Purchase gave the U.S. control of important waterways. The two longest rivers in the United States, the Missouri River and the Mississippi River, flow through the Louisiana Territory area. The Missouri and the Mississippi are part of the same river system. Both rivers have been used for thousands of years for trade, transportation, irrigation, and fishing. The Missouri River is the longest river in the modern USA. Long before Europeans came to North America, the Missouri was already an important source of water, food, and transportation. People of the Blackfeet, Choctaw, and Sioux nations, along with many other Native American tribes, relied on the Missouri for many of their daily needs long before colonists from Britain and other places in Europe came to the area. Today, millions of people of Native American, European, African, and Asian descent live along the Missouri River, continuing to make use of its waters. Along with the Missouri, the Mississippi River was added to the United States as part of the Louisiana Purchase. The Mississippi is the second longest river in the USA. It begins near the Canadian border and ends at the Gulf of Mexico, now also called the Gulf of America. As with the Missouri River, the banks of the Mississippi River and the surrounding plains have long been home to many Native American, or American Indian, people. After the Louisiana Purchase, the Mississippi became an especially important travel and trade route for Americans, with steamships and other watercraft carrying goods and passengers quickly over thousands of miles. Civics test question. Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? American Indians. Before people from England, France, and other European countries arrived, American Indians, or Native Americans, lived in America. Civics test question. Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. Sioux. People of many American Indian tribes or nations have lived throughout North America for thousands of years. The Sioux, the Choctaw, and the Blackfeet nations are just 3 of these tribes. Another two American Indian tribes are the Mohegan and the Pequot. The Mohegan tribe and the Pequot tribe have played a large role in the history of Connecticut. Civics test question. Name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. Name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. Missouri. The Missouri River is one of the two longest rivers in the United States. The Mississippi River is the other of the two longest rivers in the United States. When Americans think of the Mississippi River, they often think of a man named Mark Twain. Mark Twain is a famous figure from U.S. history. If you live in Connecticut, you may have passed by or even visited the Mark Twain House in Hartford. Twain was a very influential author who grew up alongside the Mississippi River. He was born in the early 1800s and lived through many major events of U.S. history: the Industrial Revolution, the Mexican-American War, the election of Abraham Lincoln as president, the Civil War, the abolition of slavery, the Spanish-American War, and more. As a young man, Mark Twain first made a living as a steamboat pilot, taking passengers up and down the long Mississippi River. He wrote a popular book called Life on the Mississippi about his experiences on one of the two longest rivers of the United States. Later, Twain moved to the eastern United States and settled down in the capital of the state of Connecticut. While living in Hartford, Twain wrote books like The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court that used fictional characters and humorous situations to criticize racial discrimination in America and to argue that all citizens should be given the freedom to participate in their democracy. In A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, for example, Twain tells a story from the point of view of someone living in 19th century Connecticut who gets sent back in time to a legendary kingdom in Europe. Instead of viewing the kingdom as romantic, Twain's narrator criticizes the lack of democracy, economic opportunity, educational opportunity, and political liberty he encounters. The harsh things Twain's time-traveling narrator has to say about the denial in King Arthur's court of representation in government, access to education, and other basic rights, however, had connections with problems Twain saw in America in his own day. Here's a short part of A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court in which Mark Twain's time-traveling narrator shares some thoughts on the class system of the ancient kingdom in which he finds himself trapped.
I was from Connecticut, whose constitution declares that all political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority. And now here I was, in a country where a right to say how the country should be governed was restricted to 6 persons in each 1,000 of its population. Old England was run like a corporation where 994 of the members furnished all the money and did all the work, and the other 6 elected themselves a permanent board of direction and took all the dividends. It seemed to me that what the 994 dupes needed was a New Deal.
Twain's writings underscored his belief that it's highly unusual in the history of humanity for national leaders to recognize constitutional rights like freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom to petition the government. Twain's stories illustrated the idea that although many civil rights have proved difficult to obtain, even for people in the modern United States, they're always worth fighting for. Twain was influential in pushing American readers to do more to participate in their democracy by taking advantage of the freedom they had to vote, run for office, join civic groups, call senators or representatives, help with campaigns, or write to a newspaper, something Twain himself did quite often. Civics test question. What are two rights of everyone living in the United States? What are two rights of everyone living in the United States? Freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. First and Second Amendments to the Constitution list several rights of everyone living in the United States, including freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition the government, freedom of expression, freedom of worship, and the right to bear arms. Civics test question. What are two ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? What are two ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? Vote and write to a newspaper. There are many ways Americans can participate in their democracy. Only U.S. citizens can vote or run for office, but citizens and non-citizens alike living in the U.S. have the right to publicly support or oppose an issue or policy in different ways, including by writing to a newspaper. Understanding U.S. geography involves knowing not only about the land and rivers of North America, but also about seas and oceans. The two largest oceans in the world are the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. Most of the United States is located between these two oceans. Like the Mississippi River and the Missouri River, the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean have played a large part in American history since long before the Europeans arrived. Both the Pacific and the Atlantic continue to be extremely important today to American culture, commerce, and international relations. On the west coast of the 48 contiguous states and Alaska is the Pacific, the largest and deepest ocean in the world. On the east coast of the 48 contiguous states is the Atlantic, the ocean sailed by European colonists who came to North America in search of freedom in the 1600s and 1700s. The Atlantic was also the ocean sailed by enslavers who took people from Africa to sell into forced labor in America during the same period and into early U.S. history. Today, the United States has jurisdiction not only over land stretching from the east coast to the west coast of North America, but also over some places far from the mainland. Notably, the state of Hawaii lies out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, over 2,000 miles from the west coast of the United States mainland. Some U.S. territories are also made up of islands in the Pacific, such as American Samoa, Guam, and the Northern Mariana Islands. Off the east coast of the United States, the Atlantic Ocean includes the Caribbean Sea, where more U.S. territories are located. Puerto Rico, which has the largest population of any non-state territory of the USA, is in the Caribbean Sea of the North Atlantic Ocean. The U.S. Virgin Islands, site of a national park that hosts many unusual plants and endangered animals, is also situated in the Caribbean region of the Atlantic Ocean. Civics test question. What ocean is on the west coast of the United States? What ocean is on the west coast of the United States? The Pacific. The Pacific Ocean is on the west coast of the United States. Civics test question. What ocean is on the east coast of the United States? What ocean is on the east coast of the United States? The Atlantic. The Atlantic Ocean is on the east coast of the United States.